Most people in the restaurant that night had no idea they were sitting a few tables away from a man whose decisions could change thousands of lives. To them, he was just another customer quietly reading the menu under the warm yellow lights. No one noticed the expensive watch hidden under his sleeve. No one recognized the face that often appeared in business magazines. The biggest surprise of the night wasn't that a billionaire was eating there unnoticed. It was that a simple note from a waitress would soon change a decision worth millions. The restaurant sat on the corner of a busy street, glowing softly against the cool evening outside. Inside, the air smelled of grilled steak, fresh bread, and strong coffee. The place was lively yet comfortable. Families laughed over dinner. A couple sat near the window sharing dessert. Servers moved quickly between tables, balancing trays and greeting customers with polite smiles. At a quiet table near the window sat a man named Daniel Carter. At least, that was the name he had written on the small hotel reservation earlier that day. In reality, Daniel Carter was one of the most powerful entrepreneurs in the country. His technology company had grown from a small startup into a massive business empire in less than 10 years. His decisions created opportunities for thousands of workers and shaped industries across several cities. But tonight he had chosen to leave behind the luxury hotels, private drivers, and corporate offices. Instead, he wanted to see things with his own eyes. Daniel leaned back slightly in his chair, studying the simple menu. He wore a plain dark jacket and a light shirt, nothing that would attract attention. After a long day of traveling between company branches, he had stopped at this small restaurant for dinner. To anyone passing by, he looked like a tired businessman finishing a long day. But inside his mind, a serious decision weighed heavily. Earlier that week, his board of directors had recommended closing one of the company's smaller, precise GM's branches located in an older neighborhood on the edge of the city. Financial reports showed declining profits. Investors were pushing for efficiency. From a business perspective, the answer was obvious. Closing the branch would save millions. Still, Daniel couldn't completely silence the uneasy feeling in his mind. The location employed more than 100 workers, many of whom had been with the company since its early days. To the board, they were numbers on a report, but Daniel knew those numbers represented real people. He sighed quietly and rubbed his temple before glancing around the restaurant again. No reporters, no executives, no assistants waiting for instructions. For the first time in months, he felt invisible. A moment later, a waitress approached his table. Her steps were calm and steady despite the busy dining room. She wore a gray shirt with a red apron tied neatly around her waist. Her name tag read Naya. Naya, good evening, she said with a friendly but natural tone. Can I get you started with something to drink? Daniel looked up and offered a small smile. Just water for now, thank you. She nodded and wrote it down quickly before glancing at the menu in his hands. You ready to order, or do you need another minute? I'll take the steak, Daniel replied. Medium. Great choice, she said. I'll have that right out. Whopper for fry 420. He walked away smoothly, blending back into the rhythm of the restaurant. But as she moved toward the kitchen, she briefly glanced back toward Daniel's table. Something about him had caught her attention earlier. It wasn't his clothes or the way he ordered. It was the way he had been studying a document on his phone before she approached. During a quick glance, she had seen the name of a company she recognized immediately. The same company her older brother worked for. The same company that owned the branch where he had worked for 6 years. The same branch that, according to the rumors spreading among employees, might soon close. Nia pushed the kitchen door open and handed the order to the chef. While waiting for the plate to be prepared, her thoughts kept returning to the man at the window table. She had seen his face somewhere before, not in person, on television. In an article online that her brother had shown her months ago. The photo had included a headline about a young billionaire building one of the fastest-growing companies in the country, Daniel Carter. At first she thought it was impossible. Why would someone that powerful be sitting alone in a small neighborhood restaurant? But the more she thought about it, the more certain she became. The same eyes, the same calm expression. Her heart began beating a little faster. If she was right, the man eating steak at table 12 wasn't just a traveler. He was the person who could decide whether her brother and many others would still have jobs next month. A few minutes later, the chef placed the finished plate on the counter. Steak for table 12, he called. Nia picked up the plate carefully and placed it on her tray. But before walking back into the dining room, she grabbed a small piece of receipt paper and a pen from the counter. She stared at the blank paper for a moment. Part of her knew it wasn't her place to interfere with decisions made by powerful executives. But another part of her thought about her brother leaving home every morning before sunrise to work at that branch. She thought about the families who depended on those jobs. And she thought about the quiet man sitting by the window, who might not realize how much that decision would affect people. After a few seconds of hesitation, Nia quickly wrote a short message. She folded the paper once and held it tightly in her hand. When she walked back into the dining room carrying the tray, Daniel looked up as she approached. "Here you go," she said calmly while placing the steak in front of him. But as she set the plate down, her hand moved slightly beneath the edge of the dish. In one smooth motion, she slipped the folded note beside his napkin. Her expression remained perfectly normal as she stepped back. "Let me know if you need anything else," she added politely before turning away. Daniel nodded without noticing anything unusual. For a moment, everything seemed completely ordinary. A few seconds later, as he lifted his fork, something small beside the napkin caught his eye. A folded piece of paper. Daniel slowly picked it up. He unfolded it carefully. The moment he read the short message written on it, his entire expression changed.